So I just got the finger.
I was going to say, did you just give us
I
the
just
finger?
got the finger. So let's just fork it. That was a good one. So if you don't know what just fork it is, all right. So the new beer for today, we have Paul here from the Dirty Oar, and this thing is a holiday blessing. Fork it. Paul, can you tell us about the beer from Dirty Oar?
Yeah. Hey, good evening, everybody. This is one of our latest offerings at the brewery. Chris makes this for the holiday every year. It is a maple Scotch ale with tart cherry,
Maple,
cinnamon, and vanilla. This is accompanied by Sticky Kilt, which is the base beer for this. It is the exact same beer, but without the cherry, cinnamon, and vanilla. Just a great drinker. 8.1% ABV and just super smooth.
yes, smooth to say the least.
And let me just say, the nerd in me, tart cherries and cinnamon, those are both antioxidants. So
it's healthy,
It's
too.
healthy for you.
So listen, Karen's going to talk about being skinny this whole show because Doug's not here, and I got a dad bod, so we're not talking about anything. And I can't even spell antioxidant. So I mean, that's like one of them.
Cheers.
Yes, let's cheers it out. Fork it.
everyone.
Cheers to cops not being able to spell, because Doug can't spell either.
I love that guy. So Doug isn't here,
No.
but Paul's here, and Paul has been tremendously busy over at the Dirty Oar. They have done like the anniversary 2.0, kicked off the holidays, been everywhere. We did the Chris Daniels golf tournament. They came out, had a great time. I got on the one wheel and didn't kill myself.
So did I.
That was fun, right?
Although I held on to somebody.
Well, everybody did. Even
Yes.
Bernie Stevens got on it.
Wow.
God, I think he's 75.
Wow.
So
And
everybody took a ride on it. And I think
if
his son Scott's going to get
And
one.
you fell.
Oh, but that was graceful. Did you see that?
Graceful.
That was my Superman act.
He's like a professional at riding.
The
but
saddest part about that is he poured his beer out, and I had to run down and try and fill up his cup before he rode back without at least a friend with him. So
I think I hit a sprinkler head actually out on the golf course. That's what happened.
I believe it, and there was some crazy divot that somebody didn't fill in either. I mean,
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
I like it. So, Paul, you have anything going on coming up for the holiday seasons over there in the Dirty Oar?
We have a lot of private parties going on this month. Just got off Thanksgiving weekend. Space Coast Marathon and Half Marathon was yesterday.
It was huge.
We were at the brewery at 2 a.m. getting ready for that. Just a busy day around Cocoa Village. Of course, we're doing your Christmas party.
Yep,
Yes.
on the
21st.
21st at 6 o'clock.
Yep.
So we hope everybody comes. It's going to be a good time.
Oh yeah, right before the holiday. I mean, we can't. So we are in the official holiday season, and Paul and the Dirty Oar, they do a tremendous amount of outreach through the whole entire year. So what we ask is, if you're local or you find your way in Brevard County, stop by the Dirty Oar. Paul, the address is
329 King Street, right there on 520, heading into the village. We share a parking lot with Norman's.
And so that's right there on the 520 and Forest Ave. Best Little Oar House and Cocoa. I love that name. And I mean, every single beer. When we were out on the course last weekend or 2 weekends ago, there were a lot of people that were like, "Oh, I've seen it, but I haven't stopped in." And you don't know what you're missing until you go in there. Listen, the lights are on. There's something to be said about a place where people go and drink and congregate, but they turn the lights on. It's bright and clear in there. You can bring your family. It's family friendly. There's always a food truck, amazing food, and pet friendly too. They just expanded the outdoor area, which is incredible. So you don't have to be cooped up inside either. So please stop by, take care of Paul, Chris, Ozzy, all those guys and ladies over there at the Dirty Oar. They take care of us. They're great neighbors, great friends, and we couldn't do any of this without them.
No.
So we're so thankful for you, especially in this holiday season, for all
Thanks
that you
very
do
much.
for
Yeah.
us.
We look forward to the first responders race on January 4th also.
Yes,
gonna be
so
a
do
ball.
we. So do we.
That was a good segue, Paul.
We enjoy doing those events, like
Right.
for the golf tournament 2 weeks ago.
Right.
We do these things, and I think people might view them as work, but we go, we have a great time, and we have just as much fun as everybody else.
Well, and I tell you, anytime you're out there, it's not work for me. So I always have a great time when you're around. Hey, so let's just jump right into it. We're at 2,000 or 200 and not 2,000.
None.
206.
Yes. As of, well, actually, this was a few days ago, but it looks like it's still at the same number, 206 verified law enforcement suicides for 2019. Every week, I think 2 weeks ago it was 201.
Right.
It's just more and more. And I have to say, we can't say that it's more completed suicides, but we do know that at the very least more people are reporting. And that's important because we need to know these numbers, but they just get higher and higher. And
and we never want to bring in the holidays with that number.
No.
I mean, it's sad. And the mic was just turned over. We have Kevin Falk again with us. Thank you for being here today with us.
Thanks for letting me come and hang with you guys again.
You're incredible.
And for those of you that don't know, Kevin is Survive First Fire Liaison. So he is on our advisory board as our firefighter liaison, and we are so grateful to have him as part of our organization. So we're really happy he's here while Doug is away. I just wanted to say quickly, Doug is in... I think he's in Raleigh. I can't really keep up anymore. He's gone all the time. But I'm pretty sure he's in Raleigh. But he's working with an organization. He spoke today. They're called Inner Armor, and they are a training organization for law enforcement, but across the pond in England. So,
Wow.
yes, so they came over here to put on a big training in Raleigh, but that's really exciting. I kind of talked to all of them this morning on the phone when I was getting ready for work, and of course, Doug was razzing Al from
Of
over in
course.
England,
Of
telling
course.
them they were talking about ladies because, Al was like, wow, these American women. Doug said they'll
yes.
take all your money. So we're we're really excited to be working with Inner Armor and just grateful that they've come to Survive First and asked for us to be part of their training, and just proud to be working with them. So
Wow. That's awesome.
pretty cool.
Doug's going to continue to travel through the holiday season. Always keep him in your prayers. He's, always going through
I'm kind
something.
of hoping not.
Well, yeah, I know. So as he evolves in this process and we evolve in this process and get better and help connect with more people and we grow and get the message out there. Listen, the holiday season is not an easy season to be in, especially going through whatever kind of crisis that you could possibly be going through. So the theme for today is ask, and that's, I mean, it's a 3-letter word that starts at the beginning of the alphabet with an A, and that's probably one of the hardest things that we can do. Mm-hmm. I know we can ask easy questions, but can we ask hard questions? And nobody wants to ask them. I mean, when you're asking your brother or sister, your loved one, whoever it is, whatever that looks like, I always hesitate, and I think about it, and I have to build that courage and confidence to ask what's going on.
Well, I was going to say, even that simple question of, are you okay? It seems like it would be easy, but sometimes it's not. There's that fear of asking someone, are you okay? Thinking that maybe that's going to push them over the edge. Really quick, anyone who's watching, we would like for you guys to join in so that we know who's watching. So if you guys could just chime in real quick, give us a hello so that we know which of our friends are on here, that would be great. So if you have any questions, we can answer those.
My mom is such a rule follower. She's actually the first one on there. I love her.
Hello there.
Hi, Mom.
We're here.
Yeah, we're doing adult things. We're drinking Fork It. All right. So right. We ask questions, and a lot of times, I know, especially from the law enforcement side, but listen, we're all adults. When we ask a question, we already know the answer. And I wish more people would know that you're coming across if we're asking the hard question. Who's up there?
Darby, hello, and Matt, and whoa, it's going
There
a little
they
too.
are.
Mary, hello, Mary.
Michigan and
Crystal,
Oregon?
yes,
Utah.
from Oregon. Chateau, Linda, hello, thank you guys. It's going really. Oh, hi, Melanie. It's going really fast now.
Perfect.
I can't keep
love
up.
it. See, you asked,
I asked,
and they came through.
And they
right?
came through. Yes.
See
as
how
simple
easy
as
that was? The show's already over. We just started. You asked, and they got going. So, where's Doug Monda? Has he checked in with us yet?
He's out to dinner right now,
Okay.
so I'm not sure if he's going to be able to check in. But believe me, if he does check in, I'm sure we'll hear from him.
Absolutely.
He'll
Sure, he'll be more than happy to
he'll probably
chime in.
say that I'm the asshole.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey, that's a pretty tough one, and we'll have Kevin explain that in just a second. But we all know the Askhole, right?
Oh yeah.
Oh, we know so many of them. But asking, I had an instance several months ago where I had to ask an officer if everything was okay, and that was probably one of the hardest things, one of the hardest questions in this job, as far as law enforcement goes, to look at a brother right in the face and say, hey, given all of the circumstances last night and today, are you okay?
The totality of the circumstances.
Yeah. And
I only say that. My wife's smart. She's a cop. She uses that big word.
Yeah, Doug
spell it.
says that
Yeah.
all the time.
Yeah.
So that's why I looked
Yeah.
at you, because I was like, whoa.
wow, he's a fire guy. He's smart. You know, not me. Not so much. But and it probably set that person back, because that was not a question that person expected for me to ask, to be asked in that situation. But you're carrying around a loaded gun. We're putting you back in your home, and shit just got real.
Yeah.
Like it's real. And what is and here's the question for me: how do we know that you're okay? And that's when I'm asking that question, you better sell yourself, because if you, hesitate, stutter, you give me one inclination, I'm not going to walk away from you. I'm not going to let you be there by yourself. I'll move in, like temporarily, hopefully not permanently, because I love my wife and my family, but
And she even said hi.
yeah, so. Yes. So she likes us.
Yeah,
She likes me
she's
today.
kinda fond of you.
She worked hard. So, and thanks for tuning in, babe. Because I always talk about her, and I never know if she's like, if she could like have an image, she'd probably be stabbing me in the head or something. But asking that question, I'm not going to leave you with your response. And hey, do you want to kill yourself? That is not an easy question. Are you going to hurt yourself? Because I already know the answer. You're going to tell me no.
Yeah.
But something is happening right now to prompt that conversation, to prompt the question, to prompt the ask. And like, I really need to know. And you have to be honest with me, because I can tell that you're not right. And if someone speaks up and asks, so this is only the first part. If someone asks you, just let them know where you're at, what's going on, and they'll help you work through that. I don't think our family members, the people that we work with to the left and to the right of us, want us to fail, want to see us fail.
No.
And so to continue to allow things to build up and get worse and build up and get worse and build up and get worse, you got to change it. You got to be willing to change it. And if you make that, if you're the person asking, if you take that courage to ask, then please, if you're the receiver of the question, just be freaking honest with me. I already know the answer. I know that you're struggling. I know that you're hurt. I know that stuff is wrong, and I'll work through that with you. The whole team. That's why this whole organization was created, was to help people, because shit had to get broken in order to fix it. And thank God it did, and I thank God everything has worked out in the manner in which it has, because I think we're helping people. Mm-hmm. 206 doesn't feel like help, but everybody's starting to shed light and speak up and say, yeah, our family has a problem. I was talking to some cops today, and I said, we have the best dysfunctional family ever. I wouldn't ask for a different family to be in. We have the best dysfunction, because our dysfunction is like no other. Like, we ruin lives. We ruin our own lives, but we love the hell out of each other, which is really cool. And I believe that it's the same way over in the fire world also. There's no dysfunction like your own. Right there in that building, working to the left and the right. Listen, in Cocoa, those firefighters, I see that fire union. They do the 9/11 stair climb,
Yeah.
and they just did, I think they passed out over 150 turkey meals. That's 150 different families that they reach right in Brevard County and Central Brevard. That's huge. So they're not only doing what they have to do within the walls and within the parameters of the city, but they're going above and beyond. So they got some good dysfunction because they're working it out. They're helping people, and hopefully they're helping each other. And that's a really, 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 really hard question to ask. We've just run a couple minutes over, but we're going to jump into a quick break. We hope that you continue to follow along. Let someone know, hey, that we're live right here on Survive the podcast, Space Coast Podcast. Kevin, Karen, Chris, and we'll be right back.
Hey, it's Vinny with the Vinny Marino Podcast Show. I want you to join me Wednesday evenings as we tackle all the crazy headlines and uncover what's missing. Also, we will have exciting guests from our community who have seen it all and not afraid to spill the beans about it. And finally, we can't forget about Vinny's top rants and raves about traffic, restaurants, and events. Join us on Facebook as we go live and take you behind the scenes of each show and let you be a part of it. It's the Vinny Marino Podcast Show, raw, unedited talk all the time, straight to your dome. Live from the Space Coast Podcast Studios. Listen everywhere you find podcasts.
You're listening to Space Coast Podcast, home of the greatest podcasts on the Space Coast. If you're interested in becoming a sponsor or having your own show, email us at spacecoastpodcast@hotmail.com.
Space Coast Podcast.
Talk hard!
Okay, we are back. Chris just pointed the finger at me, gave me the finger, so I'm bringing us back in. I'm going to wait for Kevin the next time to give me the finger. I've been given the finger now by Jesse, Chris. I actually gave Doug the finger today. I told you on a Facebook post, so you know.
So the long and the short of that is just be nice, right?
Just be nice.
Doug, I know that you're nice all the time. So if you're listening and you'll listen later, listen, I know that you were nice. I'll chicken wing her later. And
I miss him terribly. You know, when
that.
he's gone, I'm just like, but I got to give him a hard time sometimes, especially when he's not here.
What's the weather like in Raleigh right now? Do you know?
He said yesterday it was rainy and cold. And he was miserable and his back was out.
Well, at least he's
he is going to be definitely having back surgery in January. So there probably will be a period of time that he is not able to be on the podcast. We may have to reschedule some things. We're going
to push him in.
Or we can bring it to our house. Y'all did one on a cruise once.
Shenanigans.
We're going remote.
We're
going remote.
Remote from the couch of
You want to
Manda.
really see him at his worst.
Yes. Oh, I listen. I got some good stories, especially when he's in the hospital and he's all. Yeah, I love him. I miss him to death. Hopped up on something.
No, he doesn't. He does not
won't.
take any pain medication. He will not take pain medication. So
He has an incredibly strong mind, and he makes up for that. And being an athlete, he works through that. And so prayers for Doug. He, as he goes through that, it's not easy with his back and the things that he's experienced, because that just puts him down out of the fight, and he is a fighter. Little scrappy do. He walks around like Bulldog. Like that's why he's had the American Bulldogs, right? And then Ghost. He's a big. What is that?
Pit bull.
Yeah, they call him the Pit Bull. Yeah, I love it.
He's a sissy too.
No, he ain't. You take it back. You don't say that about him. So we were just talking about the ask, and not an easy conversation.
Well, I do think that in what we're talking about, the ask is even more difficult. We've talked about this before, where we say people have such a hard time. They think that if they ask, "Are you okay?" or "Are you going to hurt yourself?" or "What are those cuts on your arm?" They feel like if they ask that, it's going to make matters worse. But really, it doesn't. most of the time these people are just, they're crying out for help. And if somebody would just ask and check on them, they would get that feeling that somebody cares. Because we've spoken about this before, and Doug has spoken about this before. When you get to that critical level where you are in this deep depression, you're having suicidal ideations or thoughts, that you feel like nobody cares. And that's a tough spot to be in, even though there are lots of people out there that really truly do care. And then there are some that don't. There are some people out there that just kind of look at it like you're a jerk, you're I don't know what's wrong with you and I don't want to deal with it. But there are truly people out there that care, but when they're afraid to ask and afraid to really get to that subject, then that person who's suffering feels like nobody cares. And that's a deep problem. It's a problem with law enforcement. It's a problem with fire. It's a problem with corrections. When you feel like you have nobody, dispatch, when you feel like you have nobody, that nobody cares. So it's so important for us to ask. I ask Doug all the time, are you okay? It's just, and he'll ask me if he sees something. We were just having that discussion earlier, and I said, we were talking about sleep deprivation, and I was talking about, some of the health issues that I've been going through, and how there was that period of 4 or 5 weeks where I was only getting 3 hours of sleep a night. You saw me.
Hey, wait a second. The last podcast, I could have cut the Aaron here with like a butter knife. I could tell Karen was like in a way, and I was like, wow, this is awkward.
Oh, yeah, you saw me several times when I was going through that. And what I experienced from all of that was, now it only lasted for 4 or 5 weeks, but I experienced severe depression, anger, anxiety, and so many times, even though Doug knew what was going on, we knew it was the treatment and the medication, he would just ask me, are you okay? And just hearing that from him, well, sometimes I wanted to look at him and say, no, I'm not freaking okay. But he knew that. But just him asking me, are you
dropped
okay?
the F-bomb, didn't you?
Many times. And I don't really do that,
Listen, it's bad when Karen's using the F-bomb.
When I'm using any bad words, it's bad. But just him asking me, and this was just for a brief period of time, 4 or 5 weeks, just him asking me, are you okay, made me feel immediately better, like, okay, somebody out there realizes something is going on. I can't control what's going on with me, but somebody out there realizes it and they're checking on me, and that sits well with me. So imagine, like, you guys or your brothers and sisters that, something has been going on for a month, 2 months, when we look at how they diagnose PTSD and depression and anxiety, these things have to be going on for longer than a month in order for them to say that there is a diagnosis. And so when you see those going on and someone checks on you, what a great feeling to feel like, okay, somebody notices, somebody cares. Your thoughts?
No, I agree completely. You always, regardless of what people say, and where the difference that I see the difference in law enforcement and fire rescue and EMS is, like we talked about the last podcast I was with you guys. Law enforcement, most everybody, you're in a car by yourself, where you're meeting up with somebody, if you need to talk, if call volume allows, whereas at the firehouse we talked about it, we can go back and we can have the talks and things. And when I train guys at the fire department, one of the guys that's actually one of the team leaders, the first time we ever did some peer counseling, he did it, and he's like, man, he said, that's so much easier than because when we practice, we role play, like you're going to be the firefighter having a problem. I talk to you, and that's the only way to truly peer support is to role play. You have to role play to be able to talk it out. And I told all those guys, I'm like, we're way harder on each other. Like when we're role playing, because I want to be the guy that you can't crack when we're role playing. But I remember him calling me. He's like, man, he said, I literally talked to him for a couple of minutes, told him why I was calling, and he said 45 minutes later the guy stopped talking. And that was after he told me he was okay 3 times. 45 minutes later he stopped talking. So that's a perfect little story of all you have to do is ask. Just show somebody you care. We've had so many guys in our department that when we've talked to them, they're like, man, I didn't even know this existed in the department. So we've gotten better. That was early when we started doing it, of letting people know, hey, even in our the way that you can go online for our staffing in the fire department, we can log into Telestaff, a little program. We even put CISM by the team members. So if you're having a problem, you can literally go on there and find the CISM by a team member's name and call, and our cell phone numbers and everybody's numbers are on that. So yeah, it's really a matter of asking.
Do you know, as far as other local fire departments, do you know if the same thing is being done at other departments throughout the county?
I know there's some departments that are exploring the options of doing it interdepartment. For right now, like the agency that I work for, we keep it in house, and that's more of a liability type thing, of keeping it in house. But I know there's some other departments that have looked into it, and there's some peer support group that one of the guys from Lockledge Fire Department's helping start and got going, and they've actually had a couple immersion days where they'll take mental health professionals and bring them to the firehouse and let them ride the fire truck to a call and different stuff to kind of show them what a day in the life of a fireman.
Yeah, I think that's important, and I'd be curious to see within Brevard County and law enforcement how many agencies are beginning to instill this into their departments as well.
I hope it's more. I really do hope that it's more, but I mean, just to even step out and don a badge and don a gun and don handcuffs, there are still conversations. There's still people, heads of organizations, heads of large organizations that don't even qualify it. That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen to our people. Whatever that is, we don't acknowledge it. And I mean, right here in our own home. I mean,
and that's a problem.
If you don't admit that there's a problem, there's not a problem.
Oh yeah, yeah. and the saying that I hate to even say, but I find myself saying it quite a bit lately is, it's not a problem until it's a problem.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's 206 families that are, wish that they would have never came across this problem. And, some news agencies have picked it up where it's been multiple people in single agencies. But it's more than just one agency. And it's everywhere that we go. It's in every county, every municipality. There's someone out there with a problem. And I mean, maybe we need to just start at the top and say, hey, how are you doing? I mean, I'm sure that it can't be the easiest to be on the top of the pyramid all by yourself, surrounded by commanders that are under you, because when can you speak candidly, and when can you express your problems, and when can you talk about, your officers or your deputies that are failing or that are falling apart, and you don't know how to get ahead of that, and you don't know how to engage that conversation. Hey, we started off with a 3-letter word: ask.
Well, we have talked, Doug and I have talked before, and you may have been part of this conversation, about having a training just for upper admin, for chiefs, because we need to get this I think we're doing a great job getting this information out there to firefighters and law enforcement officers, deputies, and even we've had corrections come in, and we've spoken to some corrections officers. So even that's starting to come in. But we've talked about having a training and hopefully being able to get admin and chiefs from fire departments and police agencies to come in, because really it starts with their leadership. It starts with their buy-in. because a big part of the problem is that nobody wants to reach out because they're afraid. And really, it just takes that education. Just saying that number for law enforcement, 206 completed suicides that we know about this year. You say that to anybody, and I think with fire, I believe it's somewhere in at least the 130s.
Yeah, it's somewhere in there.
And that's crazy. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no doubt.
You say it to anybody. You say that to any chief, because I know we go to these conferences and we speak to chiefs. Like we'll be at the Florida Police Chiefs Association conference in January. We were there at their summer conference in June. We were at their winter conference last January. And every chief we spoke to, it was like kind of like mind blowing to them when we would talk to them about what the statistics are. It's almost like sometimes they're so buried in all the administrative stuff that maybe they just don't have time to think about it. Maybe. Then there are some that say, nope, this doesn't happen in our department. There are, but I do think it's getting better. One quick thing, Thumper Daniels. I think he said a class where Scott is here in North Carolina. Are you talking about Doug? Because I think you're saying that you're up at that conference in North Carolina. And if you are, thank you for joining our podcast.
Absolutely.
Thank you for thanking us and what we do, but thank you for jumping on here. That's really, really cool. Spread the word, and we're happy you're there. Hope you guys are having a good time, and keep my husband in line.
And with that, we're going to jump out to a quick break. We'll be right back. Kevin,
something?
Karen, Chris. And we'll see you in just a minute.
Hello, America. We are Ruthless Politics, Vladimir Putin's favorite podcast.
Hello, American podcast listeners. I am Vladimir Putin. I like this podcast. I like this guy Trees. Kid Groening, not so much.
Tune in every Tuesday for Ruthless Politics Podcast, live from Moscow. Just kidding, folks. Live from the Space Coast Podcast Studios in sunny Florida.
No, but for real, every Tuesday, check it out. And you could see it on the YouTube, the Facebook, and the Twitter and Instagram.
Are you in the market for a new home? Perhaps you need to sell your old home and downsize or relocate. Hey there, my name is Jesse Hall with eXp Realty, and I offer professional real estate services right here on the Space Coast. Give me a call, 321-877-8737 for all of your real estate needs. Again, 321-877-8737 for all of your real estate needs. Buy, sell, invest with the best. Find out more at 321-buysellinvest.com.
You're listening to Space Coast Podcast, home of the greatest podcasts on the Space Coast. If you're interested in becoming a sponsor or having your own show, email us at spacecoastpodcast@hotmail.com.
Space Coast Podcast.
Talk hard!
I got this.
Oh, you got me.
Kevin, give me the finger.
Yay!
You're number one.
We're back. And it's not the middle finger, it's the...
I got the fist, actually,
Yeah,
from
the-
Kevin.
You get the knife hand.
Yeah.
So we're back. Thanks for joining us. Please let someone know that reach out in your contact list and tell them to join in with us. This is a great conversation. We have Kevin Falk. He's our firefighter liaison. Karen Monda is the spouse and the one and only spouse of Doug Monda that has kept him grounded. And then, of course, Chris Hadaway. We're here with Jesse, the producer. He's keeping us on a tight schedule, having a good time with us. But today's theme is ask. Karen left somebody out, and she wanted to connect with that really quick.
With Chateau. Actually, yes, dispatch. We actually mentioned dispatch maybe before you got on the show, but yes, dispatch. We are here for all first responders.
Right.
Law enforcement, fire, dispatch, EMS, corrections, nurses, even veterans. And today I had a conversation with, which was not even first responder related. I was actually over at the Dog and Bone, and I was speaking with the owner over there. We're kind of collaborating on something because they have had some suicides over in Cocoa Village, and they're trying to put something together. So like what I told her was, we're not going to turn anybody away.
Right.
Our mission is to assist first responders, but anybody who needs help. If someone calls us, we're going to try our very best to point them in the right direction, even if they're not a first responder.
We can
but
get
yes,
them connected with
dispatch
the right
for sure. They take the very first call. I can't even imagine what that might be like in some situations.
And we're horrible because we don't see them. They're not downstairs with us. They're not at the call with us. I mean, they are through the means of communication devices. However, we leave them out so many times, and just to walk up, so we're capable of walking up into our dispatch and speaking and seeing them face to face. There's sometimes that they say, "And hey, how's everybody doing?" after the hot call, whatever that looks like, and they're like, "Oh, we're fine. It's cool. We got it. It wasn't anything bad." And then sometimes it's like, "I need help." They are communicators. They can give you a lot of information and tell you the kind of help that they need, but they can also shut you down, and you're not going to get anything out of them. So having a relationship there is very important. It's the holiday season. Connect with people. Take the extra time. You know, I still handwrite cards. Follow up with an email and a phone call and say, "Hey, I really do appreciate everything that you've done for us. How are you doing?" And maybe when we're talking about asking, there's another way to ask, and there's another question to ask, or a different person to ask the question. But let me touch on this really quick. I don't ask you how you're doing, and I've gotten really good at this. I needed to learn how, so I just started in the grocery store. I would go to get groceries, and I would see people. So I grew up in this town, and I would see people that I knew, and instead of saying, "Oh, hey, how's it going?" if you don't care, if you don't want to know, don't ask.
Yeah.
Period. So I developed, for me, it's just
That's
as quick.
That's the asshole.
Right. If you don't know, if you don't want to know, don't ask. And we'll get to the asshole in just a second. But so when I see somebody, and I'm not really wanting to engage them in conversation, but I see them and I know them, or, I grew up with them, or whatever that looked like, I would say, "Hey, it's good to see you. I'll catch up with you later," and just keep trucking. Start that. If you're a person that always gets caught up in a conversation and you really don't want to know, and so I ask you to not ask. Please don't ask someone how they're doing if you don't mean it, because if you don't have that time to spend with them to talk about it, because people will unload it. Like I thought, like I had written across my forehead, "Tell me your life story," and I would be like, "Wow, man, I'm really getting, like, groceries are taking 2.5 hours, and my wife is going to wonder where the hell I'm at. I need to get home because we're doing stuff. I want to be home." But I saw 15 different people that I grew up with at school, going to school, and, "Oh, yeah, it's the holidays and everything else." Listen, if you see me in the grocery store and I say, "Hey, it's nice to see you," and I keep going, I'm not interested. I don't want to have the conversation. I don't want to know how you're doing today. I apologize, but I'm worried about something else that I got on my plate, like making sure that my wife has whatever it is that she needs at home. It might just be creamer, but that creamer is important for the conversation that we're going to have later on. So if I'm running just to get creamer and I don't ask you how you're doing, please don't be mad. I'll catch up with you soon. Shoot me a text. Call me. It always goes both ways. But I'm going to turn it over to Kevin real quick because he's going to tell us about the Askhole. And we know so many of these people. Listen, you're listening with us. You're following along. Think about this person. You're going to chuckle, and you're going to say, I never want to talk to that person again.
This will be where Doug finally chimes in. Guaranteed. Everybody watch the screen.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's what we were talking about before we went on air is, he said that we're going to talk about ask tonight. And I said, yeah, everybody hates askholes. The people that ask a question, you give them advice, and then they do the opposite of your advice. Or you ask them a question like you just said, hey, man, how are you doing? Oh, well, bliss. Oh, well, crap, man, I got to go.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Don't be an asshole. Don't be an asshole on the thing of if you ask the three of our opinions and then you do the exact opposite of what everybody told you.
And then you go on and fail. Like, I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
Don't call me back. Don't let me know that you've. No, and that's insensitive. I'm not an insensitive person. However, let me tell you, I will help you any way that I can help you. I will do whatever I can do to work through whatever you're going through. But as soon as you go the opposite direction and you fail and you knew that was absolutely the bad thing, ask somebody different next time, because don't ask me. I'm not going to give you my, I'm not going to give it to you.
Well, and that is, I think that is one of the really hard parts when we're dealing with mental health and when we're dealing with people who are suffering, because what we have found many times is at least the first time they may not listen.
Yeah.
They desperately want the advice. They desperately need the advice.
Right.
They need somebody to listen to them. And we're not counselors. So let me throw that in there.
Absolutely.
As Survive First, we are not counselors. When somebody calls, we just want to hear their story. And from there, we determine how we can assist with appropriate treatment planning, placement if needed. So we are not counselors, but we do listen. And when you listen, many times you give advice, or Doug will say, I can't tell you what's going to work for you, but this is what worked for me. And I'll say the same thing to a spouse or a significant other. But many times that very first time, maybe even second time, they don't listen. And so then you almost have to say to yourself, in the situation of one of your brothers or sisters who's struggling, okay, we have to realize that they may not listen the first time because they're at such a low down here, and they're really not thinking. Their thought process is not correct. I know for Doug, he didn't listen at first. It took a long time, actually, for him to come around and to really be able to listen. I mean, when you think about it, the careers that you guys have, you are in control of the situation, not the person you're helping. Mm-hmm. You pull up on scene and you're immediately controlling the situation. You pull up on scene and you're immediately controlling the situation and telling people what to do and stuff like that. So you're so used to being in control of things that when you are out of control, when your mental health is out of control, that's hard. I would think that's very hard to grasp. And so even though someone is giving you advice, you might have a hard time at first accepting that and letting that other person be in control and telling you what to do. So it's kind of a fine line with that.
I agree. I absolutely agree with you. I think, and that's where the people that you work to the left and to the right of make such a large impact on the outcome of all of that. Mm-hmm. Because if they're paying attention, they know who you are. Mm-hmm. I talked about being the best dysfunctional family. Like, we know your dysfunction. We know you. Conversation, talking about, one of the people that I work with said, we were doing a special detail the other day, and one of the other people
At
that
Walmart?
no.
Not that Walmart.
It was on Peachtree. So it was a prostitution detail. And between a break, we one of the people had to go use the bathroom, and the other officer said, I know he has to take a shit. Like, I know. And it's because we spend so much time together that how, the change that someone, when they got a turtle head poking out, that I don't know how to describe it better because that's just my mind. But when they got to go to the bathroom, and their routines, because we spend so much time together, like, that he's got to run and do this real quick. And it's that time of day. This is happening.
A couple of cups of coffee.
Yeah, absolutely. So, the person to the left and to the right of you knows. They know so much, and you, if you're listening, you are the key to all of this. You're the key to the help that the person needs. And when you ask that question, you already know the answer. But you can say it, and you can say it in multiple different ways. You can ask in multiple different ways to find where that person is really at. Every person that's been on the show so far to date, that has talked about being a friend of Doug when he was in crisis, they knew, and they talked about all of the different things that they went through, and what their feelings were. Tony was a big one. He came back twice, and he's like, man, I lost my friend for many years. But he at least knew that there was something going on, and there was a culmination. And then one of the people that'll be on the show shortly. I'm sorry, my tongue is fat and heavy and wet. That'll be on the show shortly. That's
Say
hard.
that 10 times.
Betty. But he said, I lost my best friend. I didn't ask the question. It changed. That moment when it was time to go, we didn't ask the question, or we didn't ask the question the right way. We didn't ask it enough. And he gave us the answer that we already knew that he was going to give us, and it wasn't the right answer, and it went a different direction. We packed up and we left, and I lost my best friend that day. Now, those things have changed. But because of the way that went down, because at that time, no one was having this conversation. This stuff did not exist, period.
We actually have come a long way.
In a very short time.
In a very short time, in a few years, I think that all of this has come a very long way, but there's still much further to go. And you said, I think it was when we were on break and we were having a chat, we had been talking about admin and chiefs, and you said, if there's not buy-in at that level, you're just fighting an uphill battle.
Right. And we got to remember, maybe it's lonely at the top.
Most certainly. I think it is. And I mean, it's easy for the guys in the field to automatically say, oh, the chief, that guy doesn't get us and everything like that. There are a lot of chiefs that may have been out of the field for a while. They don't have, their problems are different than our problems, but they still have problems.
And they're still human.
Right. Yeah. And they're still very much human.
And they have all the other big people that are coming down on top of them, giving them all the different things to do. So
I think the last time you were here, Kevin, we talked about, 2 agencies lost over almost 50 years of experience or more than that.
Three agencies over the past couple of years. It's almost 75 years of experience that was lost between the three chiefs that committed suicide. And one of the big things that I remember my dad's mother, my Granny Falk, told me, and I always share it with when I do the lectures for our new hires and in the EMT and medic classes, is God gave you 2 of these and 1 of these for a reason.
2 ears and 1 mouth.
You should do twice as much of this as you do of this.
I love that.
Yeah. And that's something as guys, we're fixers. Like, when you tell me something, I want to fix it.
I mean,
sometimes I just need to do this.
Right. Shut up.
And do that.
Right.
But it's hard to do that because I want to, my wife will tell you.
You look like you had trouble doing that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, think about it. For Christmas, we're buying little kids, little boys. What are we buying them? We're buying little plastic hammers for them to knock little nails in these little plastic planks because we're going to fix it. Yep.
We're fixers.
We teach them from a young age. And that's, I mean, we do that for girls too. They're allowed to use hammers and nails. I mean, that's not just...
I do not use hammers and nails at all.
She does her nails.
Does her-
but doesn't use hammer and nails.
No.
So, but yeah, we teach from a young age. Boys fix, and we do, and we bang, we're loud, we're all out crazy, and girls take care of us. I mean, all three of my little girls are little mommies. They, they're so nurturing and kind, and that's because their mom is, she's nurturing and kind, and she's her job. I mean, she's a nurse. I think moms that are nurses are even better at their jobs because they get it. I mean, I remember going to the ER. I get bit by a dog when I worked at another company, and Crystal was cleaning out my wounds, right? I was just telling the story the other day, and she was getting in there. Like, I was like, oh, gosh, my calf. And she's laughing. I wasn't laughing. I didn't find it funny at all. But she was enjoying the torture and pain and agony that I was going through. And then the doctor, he did her one really well. He said, no, she's giving you better treatment than anybody else. I'm like, no, she's hurting me, and she's laughing because she's hurting me. So anyways, I haven't forgot, by the way. Yeah. So that's a delicious. I hope you're still listening, babe. Yeah.
I'll have to ask her about that next time I see her at the hospital.
Oh yeah, she got me good. She cleaned it right out, and it hurt bad, but dog bites. Anyways, so the other ask, hey, if it never occurred to you and you're going through some stuff, like my friend Boogie, he's in the Army. He's like, I seen some stuff. I seen some shit. And I'm like, what does that mean? And, it's funny because he was saying that back when we met in basic training. He's like, we've been through some stuff. I'm like, it's basic training. It's not a lot, right? So he was like, yeah, but we could tell cool stories. Like there was stuff exploding over our heads and 50 cows going off, and which is true, but it wasn't like serious stuff that was going to hurt us. It was training. Now he's really seen some stuff. And that always takes me to the thought that if you've seen some stuff and you need some help, there's also something that you can do, and that's ask. Mm-hmm. You can ask for help. And it might not be easy, but as soon as you say the words, can you help? How can you help? Or I need help. And I know that's not a question. You don't have to tell anybody that you need help, but hey, if I was going through this, how could you help me? And you can start finding what works for you as far as what help looks like. Or going and talking to somebody. Take a second and think about if you're in a place where you need some help. When you lean on your brother and sister to the left and to the right of you, think about how that makes them feel. Like you're putting something into them, and you're like, that relationship that they've developed alongside of you now means something. That's like solidifying. That's like the ring on the finger that I do the kiss. Yeah. Like I'm not asking you to marry your partners, and some of you do, and that's fine. However, that faith that you have, that when you go to the call, they got your back, they got your six, that you're always watching for each other, looking past them, protecting the people that you work with. Why can't they help you now?
Ego. We have to get rid of that in this line of work.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And that's a big thing. I know you guys see it too. Yeah. Is people won't let go of their ego. And that's even the biggest thing. Like you look at leadership courses and things like that, even getting outside of the spectrum of what we're talking about. And people let their ego take over, and you have to keep your ego in check. If you don't keep your ego in check, it'll control you, and it'll control what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I definitely agree with that. And I think in your line of work, it's even more difficult to be vulnerable and let that ego go. But I agree, because from the outside looking in, I see ego.
Yeah.
And so, and that plays a huge factor, that ego. I can't let anybody know that something's wrong with me.
Well, and I don't, for me, it's not ego, because maybe I walk in those boots.
Not everybody.
But I mean, in the agency that I work for, we do see a lot of stuff, and I'm cut from a different cloth, I want to also, and I want you to know as you're listening along, like, we're here to protect you. Like, none of your information is for anybody else to know.
No.
Your brothers and sisters shouldn't be out there running their mouth, and I don't think they are. No. So if you're worried about talking because, or saying, shit, I need help, because you're worried about what someone's going to say about you, listen, they're not going to say anything. They're going to get you help, and they're going to protect you, because that's what we do. We protect each other. Mm-hmm. You know, and for me, like, I think that the people that I work with, they know that I'm there to protect them. And I don't have a problem asking for help. I haven't been to the experience, but I also have an outlet to communicate that. And I'm not saying that I'm better than anybody. I've just found what works for me. And it is talking about with the people that I trust and that I can lean on to have that conversation. So ask the question, ask for help, ask your battle buddy if they need help, and know that it doesn't have to be a squad thing. It doesn't have to be a company thing. It doesn't have to be a community thing. It's you and your partner going through what you go through. And if that partner is your spouse, talk about it with your spouse. Mm-hmm. You know, if that's the one that you can fight in, if it's the person that you work to the left and to the right of, they're going to help you too. And if they don't know how to help, maybe they have the level mind at this moment to go and get you the help that you need. But you got to ask. Both of you have to ask, hey, are you okay? No, I'm not okay. Hey, I need help. Can you help me? Yes, I can help you. That's how quick this happens. I hated the way the military did it. They said it was an ACE card, right? Ask, care, and escort. That crap, it was just too much. I mean, Barney style, know your battle buddy, know what they're going through, know what they look like, know when they got the doo-doo walk and they got to go to the bathroom, and you know that's the time of day it is. Because you know who they are, you know what they do, and know them enough to go out, ask the question, and go with them. It just be with them for a moment. I'm not going to leave you. I just want you to know that you can ask me, and I'm going to help you. Mm-hmm. And I know that if I need help, I'm going to ask for help. You can trust me. We got just like a quick, short jump into it.
We have a couple minutes, but I think we always go over a couple minutes too. Jesse says that's fine. Yes, Matthew. There is also, I believe, a fear of looking weak within your department. I think, I think that with some there is ego, sure. and I think that with many there's that fear of being viewed as weak and you're not fit for duty. And so I think with either of those, we are beginning to break the barriers with that. We are seeing just in Survive First has been around for almost 2 years now. Yeah. And from the beginning to now, we are seeing it's like a double-edged sword, actually, but right. We're getting more and more calls. So where we don't like to see that we're getting more calls because we're realizing that more are suffering, we see that people are beginning to accept that I do need to make that call and it's okay to make that call. And we always say whether it doesn't have to be to Survive First. There are plenty of organizations that are out there. Hello, Sean. There are plenty of organizations that are out there that do what we do or do things that are similar that you can call, or you can go to your own agency, your own department, because we do find that we're seeing more buy-in now. Right. More. We were just talking, I think, on one of the breaks about peer support and the CISM teams, and we're seeing more and more of that. So it doesn't matter who you reach out to. It doesn't matter who you ask, but ask somebody. Make sure you reach out for that help if you are beginning to feel like something is different and something is going on, because we're here to help. There are other organizations. There are many people out there that love you, that are here to help and can point you in the right direction.
Yeah, and there's actually more and more states. I know the state of Alabama passed it, and I want to say that it's up for pass, or it may have recently been passed. I should have checked before we went on air. That are passing bills to where if Chris and another officer have that conversation, it's protected by a
Protected talk,
client
yes.
relationship
Yes.
to where he can't be called in to say, hey, here's what this guy said.
Right,
And
yes.
that's where traditionally law enforcement,
Oh, we
there's
go
been
around
that,
with that, right?
there's been that holdback of, man, I don't want to be in an IA and have to throw my buddy under the bus, whereas that's what my dad helped write that bill in Alabama that was passed
wow.
for that exact reason, because law enforcement, not so much with fire rescue and EMS, but law enforcement, you guys are pulled into IAs for certain things. So that, I think that's a step in the right direction for guys, you know, when you pull up and you talk with another officer, that it is that protected
Right.
thing that you would have there.
Absolutely. Hey, Karen, can you tell us what we have coming up?
I sure can. Okay, so December 21st at 6 p.m. at the Dirty Oar, we have our. Am I talking too loud?
No,
Jesse?
you're good. Keep going.
He just turned the volume down on me. Oh, you didn't? We have our holiday party. So we really just want everybody to come out and gather and just have a good night with us. It's going to be a great time. Dirty Oar, of course, has always been a huge sponsor of ours. They just back us with everything that we do. So anytime we can give back to them, it's going to be a great evening. I don't think it's going to be like I think we're going to not dress up, but
Be
you know,
fancy pants for the day.
Be fancy
Put on
pants
something
for the
nice.
night.
Maybe an ugly sweater or
Right.
something.
I know it's
don't know,
right
something.
before Christmas, but please come out and join us. You know, get on our Facebook page because I'll start posting things about that. Then January 4th, we have our Run for Responders 5K in Cocoa Village. That will start at 6 o'clock. That's going to be an amazing night. So get on and register because you know you're going to anyway. So
Absolutely.
please go to
Show up.
Sign Up, Run for Responders 5K, and sign up for that. It's going to be a great night. And then June 13th, we are, yes, I
Boogie
know, I'm
down.
so excited. We are planning our first responder ball, our inaugural first responder
First
ball.
responders don't have balls. No, keep going. Yes,
Oh my gosh.
officer. The first responder gala. It'll be so dress up, put your best on.
Yes, that's going to
That's
be a red
absolutely.
carpet event. It's going to be amazing. More information is going to be coming out about that. And
Follow us on Facebook. Follow us, hey,
Yes.
Space Coast Podcast.
Yes.
We are Instagram.
Yes,
Any
Instagram.
way that you can connect with us. If you're in a place you need help, call, ask your partner. Know when to ask. Know what to ask. We're here for you. Doug, we miss you.
And don't be an asshole.
Don't be an asshole. Hey, we're out.
I just had to close it out like that.
I love it.